Hello, this is David from DN Cognitive Counseling. I'd like to follow up with one of our subscribers who asked a great question on the Stockholm Syndrome video. Now, if you like this video, please hit like. If you dislike it, please tell me why you did not like it. And if you didn't already, please subscribe to the channel. But the question goes like this. What about the issue of having left your abusers, but that it continuing to happen because they find you? Or with Stockholm Syndrome, you wanting to protect them because the thought of them getting into trouble isn't worth it? Or the struggle of thinking that you have changed and going back everything will be fine and it won't ever happen again? How does one rid themselves of that mindset? Or trying to tell yourself it's over when it's really not? Even after having talked about it and getting help, the hardest part is the victim reporting it initially. Well, NL, I want to say that I agree wholeheartedly with that last statement. The hardest part is the victim reporting it initially. That generally is the most difficult aspect of it. And I think I alluded that in the last video, because what ends up happening is that for the victim, keeping them silent and is the aspect of control in the relationship. And once it comes out, the abuser loses the ability to do what they're doing without consequence, and now the roles actually reverse. But let's talk a little bit about some of the other aspects of what you spoke about, because they're incredibly important. The question I was responding to in the last video was about past abuse, something that's been on a long time ago and is over. But you're 100% correct. If there is current abuse going on, the first thing that has to happen is the abuser must report it to the proper authorities for protection. Now, I understand it's a lot easier said than done. So what do you do when you emotionally can't do that? That's when you seek help in therapy. Now, I wish I could create a video that would say to every abuser out there, you must report and this is the best thing for you to do. That would be great. But I recognize that it takes a lot of strength and fortitude to get there. And a lot of times you need that support and sometimes change of mindset. You hit the nail on the head when you said in the second part, when your Stockholm Syndrome makes or creates in you a desire to protect the abuser. It's 100% true. Also, when the abuser is a family member, it makes it that much worse because the dynamics in the family change and you have become more fearful. How is this going to change? How are people going to look at me? It takes time to be able to gain the tools and the emotional fortitude to be able to do that. So if there is current abuse, you call 911 immediately. That would be the best. Now, again, we're talking about somebody who has the ability to do that. If you don't, then put yourself into a therapeutic environment to help to strengthen you so that you'll be able to do that. Excuse me. The other thing I wanted to talk about, I thought was great that you talked about, is the issue of how do you get rid of that mindset? Because you're absolutely, again, correct that it is a mindset issue. The way that you think about the abuse, the way that you see the events is the problem unto itself. So the point is you get rid of the mindset by realizing and going over where that mindset is, where is it coming from, and then analyzing, is it true? One of the techniques I love to use is the aspect of, well, would this rule that you're using on yourself apply to other people? A lot of people blame themselves for their abuse. They put themselves down in some way. They hold themselves accountable. And then I reverse it and say, what about this child over here? If this child over here was this happening to them, would you feel the same way? And I have every single person I've ever said, no, never. I would never think that about anybody else. So I go, why are the rules different from you? And there's always the rules different for them. And that's really where the mindset change has to happen. Now, the other part of trying to tell yourself it's over when it's really not, that's a form of denial. And that's something of you just wanting to, this isn't really happening, this isn't really happening. And again, in a therapeutic environment, you'll be able to work out why you're doing that and to work out how to stop that. Now, you said even after having talked about it and getting help, this is a very important concept and very important that we focus on. Just because you've been in therapy and just because you've seen a therapist doesn't mean you've gotten help. It goes back to the old joke about the psychiatrists. How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? The answer is one, but the light bulb has to want to change. And in therapy, it takes the work of the person working with a good therapist to actually make a change. Too many times people say, well, I've been to therapy and it didn't work. Well, there's two questions. One was, did the therapy that you're in, was it the right fit for you and the right ability to work? Or were you not working it? It's very funny. I have certain people who tell me, wow, that was the best experience I've ever had, and then other people don't want to ever see me again. Now, as a therapist, I'm the same person. The difference a lot of times has to do whether or not the person wants to work, or sometimes it's just a bad fit. But more often than not, at least in my experience, is that the person comes into therapy with the desire for wanting to go a certain direction. They want to do what they want to do, and they're looking for validation in their way that they're working, despite the fact that it isn't working. And certain people who are like that will find it difficult to work with, particularly me, but other therapists as well that look to objective measures as a means to see if therapy is actually working. There are other types of therapy where the person just wants to hear themselves talk. And if that's the case, that person will like to stay there. But specifically abuse, that second type of therapy is actually non-productive. For the person to sit in the same mindset and not to look at any of that actually leads to more damage. So I hope that this was helpful. And again, please subscribe. Please share this with people that it might help. And if you liked this video, please like it. And if you didn't, and you disagree with something, please tell me why. I'd love to be able to respond. I hope you have a nice day.